In the snow-covered Arctic, a Royal Danish ship is trapped in the frozen ice. The ship's captain, Anderson, urges his naval crew to work faster since they have a mission to complete at the North Pole. But the ship's chief officer, Larson, tells Anderson that the men are exhausted and hungry, pushed to their limits. Anderson refuses to listen and orders them to keep working. As night falls, the crew notices an explosion in the distance. They go to investigate and find an injured man with a prosthetic leg lying in the snow. Then a roar echoes through the frozen air, shaking the ground beneath them. Anderson orders his men to carry the wounded man back to the ship, while Larson and the others stand their ground, firing at a tall, shadowy creature charging toward them. The bullets have no effect. The creature climbs aboard the ship and demands that they hand over the injured man. When the crew refuses, it begins killing them one by one. Afterward, it points at the wounded man and calls him Victor. Larson grabs a powerful gun and shoots at the creature, but he rises again. Desperate, Larson fires at the icy surface and the monster plunges into the freezing depths below. Back on the ship's doctor, Udson, tends to the wounded man's injuries. Captain Anderson introduces himself. The man looks up weakly and says, "My name is Victor Frankenstein." Victor asks how many men have been lost. 6, Anderson replies. "The creature will return," Victor warns, "and it will kill many more unless you hand me over to it." Anderson insists that the monster is dead, but Victor shakes his head. "It cannot die," he says. Curious, Anderson asks, "What kind of creature is that?" "Who made it?" Victor looks at him and replies, "I did." And with that, he begins to recount the tale of how the creature came to life. Victor Frankenstein is named by his father, Leopold Frankenstein, a name that means conqueror. Victor, however, feels a stronger bond with his mother, Claire, than with his distant father. Leopold, a baron, married Claire for her noble lineage and dowry. Now Claire is expecting their second child. Leopold spends much of his time away, and when he's home, he rules the estate with cold authority. That night, after dinner, Victor prays to an angel, as he often does, and overhears his parents arguing, their voices sharp with anger over money and the estate. Even at a young age, Victor knows his father despised both him and his mother. Since Leopold is a renowned surgeon, he wants Victor to follow in his footsteps. During one of their lessons, he asks Victor about the function of the tricuspid valve. When Victor hesitates, unable to recall, Leopold strikes him across the face with a stick. "Your hand," he says, "is the instrument of your craft. Your face, however, is only vanity." Few days later, while Victor and Claire are playing cards, she suddenly goes into labor. Victor runs to fetch his father, but despite Leopold's medical expertise, Claire bleeds heavily and dies giving birth to her second son, William. Her death shatters Victor. As time passes, William grows up under Leopold's affection, while Victor watches from the shadows, unable to forget that his mother died at the hands of the most distinguished doctor, his father. Eventually, Victor confronts Leopold and says, "Father, you let her die, didn't you?" Leopold's reply is cold. "I did everything I could. No one conquers death." Victor looks him in the eye and says, "Then I will." That night, Victor dreams of a dark angel who promises that he will surpass his father in ambition and command the forces of life and death. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, a fire consumes the family plantation, destroying what remains of their fortune, leaving only the estate. Leopold dies shortly after. So William is sent to live with relatives in Vienna, while Victor is sent to London, then Edinburgh. For the next 10 years, Victor studies medicine obsessively at the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh, focusing on anatomy, physiology, and the mysteries of life and death. Determined to bring the dead back to life, Victor conducts radical experiments that soon spark outrage and lead to a disciplinary tribunal. Victor justifies his experiment to the jury, explaining that birth isn't something humans can control. It's in God's hands, the soul, the spark of life itself, while death, he argues, is not. Just then, a man enters the room and quietly takes his seat, as Victor unveils his experiment. A corpse made from several bodies, the arm of a carpenter, the torso of a shopkeeper. He explains how the nerves, ligaments, and muscles are connected now. Then, he applies electricity. The body moves. Victor tells the jury that the electricity causing the body to move is not new. However, the flow of energy through the body follows a different notion in time. an Eastern concept called chai. The jury interrupts Victor, accusing him of trickery. To prove them wrong, Victor throws an apple at the reanimated corpse, and the creature catches it. Victor insists this is no illusion, but rather the dead man's own decision to catch it. The jury reaches a verdict, forbidding Victor from continuing his experiments, condemning his work as an abomination, and insisting that only God has the right to give and take life. Victor's voice turns sharp. "Perhaps God is inept," he says. Then he leaves. Victor walks home and is approached by a man who was in the audience at the tribunal. He introduces himself as Heinrich and tells Victor that his brother William has sent a letter. Victor opens it and reads that William is coming to visit soon to introduce his fiancée, Elizabeth, who happens to be Heinrich's niece. Heinrich smiles and praises William for making a name for himself in finance. Heinrich mentions that he has read about Victor's experiment in the newspaper and asks whether Victor can really assemble a man in a completely new body and give it life. Victor tells him he must have seen the demonstration earlier. Heinrich admits it was brilliant but isn't entirely convinced, saying Victor was too emotional while delivering his speech and that people will soon forget it. Victor asks him to leave, but Heinrich tells him that in 3 days William and Elizabeth will arrive at his house, and on that day he promises Victor he will change his destiny. As agreed, Victor arrives at Heinrich's house and hands over the documentation of his experiment to him. Heinrich gathers from the notes that Victor uses electrical current through the nervous system to give life, but the effect is short-lived. He asks Heinrich if he is a surgeon. Heinrich admits he was, explaining that his success as a surgeon allowed him to amass the fortune needed to acquire a few ammunition centers. Then he asks Victor if he is familiar with Evelyn's tables. Victor nods, saying they were acquired by John Evelyn. 4 anatomical tables showing nerves, veins, arteries, and cadavers. Heinrich adds that there is a 5th one, the flesh rendered on wood, which displays the lymphatic system. Heinrich explains that this system, once called the secret circulatory system by early Muslim medics, is a hidden network that carries the body's life essence. He then tells Victor about a crucial discovery: a 9th configuration, a delicate structure near the heart, capable of storing the energy and distribute it so it lasts longer. Victor realizes this point must be reached not from the front, but from the spine. Heinrich offers his resources to Victor to bring the experiment to fruition. Skeptical, Victor asks him what's the catch. Heinrich tells him that he would ask a favor in the future. Victor replies that he will consider his proposition. At that moment, his brother William arrives. Victor welcomes his little brother, and William introduces his fiancée, Elizabeth. At lunch, William admits he isn't surprised that Victor got expelled from the college, especially after provoking the jury. He asks Victor why he didn't carry out his experiment in silence instead of drawing attention to himself. Victor chuckles and mocks William, saying he sounds like their father, who was precise, discreet, and measured. Then he asks William if a life can be generated by divine and physical means, why one should whisper it. Elizabeth laughs. Somberly, William asks if his idea isn't worthwhile. Elizabeth replies, "Ideas aren't worthwhile by themselves. Take war, for example." Before she can explain further, Heinrich asks William to meet him in the other room, and they leave. Elizabeth continues, saying that honor, country, and valor are elevated ideas by themselves. Nevertheless, men die for them in a decidedly unelevated way, face down in the mud, choking on blood. They are sons and fathers, people once fed and taught by their mothers, only to end up dying far from home in a tragedy provoked by those who remain untouched by blood, scars, or loss. She ends by saying that this is what happens when an idea is perceived by fools.
And you think me a fool?
In the present, Victor coughs up blood as Udzin tends to him. Meanwhile, the creature emerges from the depths of the icy water. Anderson steps outside to see what is happening and sees the creature advancing toward the ship. Larson tells Anderson that they should give Victor to the creature. However, Anderson responds that Victor is under his protection. Victor continues his story. A few weeks later, he agrees to partner with Heinrich. Now he, William, and Heinrich are on their way to an abandoned tower that will serve as Victor's new laboratory. The 3 of them enter the tower. Heinrich announces that he has secured William's service for the duration of the project. Victor nods and tells them that he will need a holding cell, an ice chamber nearby, 4 high-voltage batteries, and several other instruments. Heinrich assures him that his contractor will take care of everything he needs. Later, Victor visits the public hanging grounds to find a suitable corpse for his experiment. In the end, he chooses one with a strong back. As he is about to leave, he spots Elizabeth across the street and decides to follow her into a nearby church. Curiosity gets the better of him. He wonders what kind of sins she could possibly confess. He slips into one of the booths and listens. Elizabeth takes her seat and tells the priest that she has sinned. Victor alters his voice and asks, "What did you do, dear?" Elizabeth replies that her sin is one of intent, not deed. "A man?" he asks. Elizabeth affirms. "Lust?" Victor asks. She answers no, explaining that she feels hatred for her fiancé's brother, a man who manipulates everyone around him and who loves to play the victim, and is a man far too easy to spot in the busy market street. Victor laughs quietly and asks Elizabeth when she first saw him. She replies that she saw him long before he ever noticed her. Curious, Victor asks Elizabeth what kind of books she bought. She asks him to guess. Romance, he guesses. Elizabeth looks unimpressed and says she isn't surprised by his answer. It turns out Elizabeth is fascinated by insects. She finds them pure and marvelous, something she's been searching for all her life. Victor is intrigued. For the first time, he feels drawn to life itself rather than death. Not long after, Victor buys a lightning rod made of silver, an excellent conductor for high voltage for his experiment. He leaves William in charge of preparing the laboratory while he spends his time with Elizabeth, and together they capture a butterfly. In a couple of weeks, the laboratory is ready and fully furnished. Heinrich also begins to suspect that something is going on between his niece and Victor. Heinrich casually thanks Victor for attending his party and adds that he hopes it didn't distract him from his work. Victor tells him that he is close to breaking through the access point in the lymphatic system. Tired of hearing the same words, Heinrich warns him to act quickly or he will stop providing resources. He mentions that within a week, fresh bodies from the war will arrive, perfect for Victor's experiment, and gives him 1 week to deliver results. Soon after, Elizabeth visits Victor. She stares at the dead body on the table and marvels that it looks like a painting, still and serene, and that she can see the design of God in its symmetry and form. Victor, not hiding his feelings anymore, confesses to her that he believes there is a bond between them. She replies that believing doesn't make it true. She hands him the butterfly cage and leaves. That night, Victor stays up thinking about his experiment, and then the idea strikes him. Symmetry, which Elizabeth said earlier. He places the needles along the symmetrical points of the spinal cord, and the reaction works. Then Victor begins collecting bodies from the war, searching specifically for tall, strong corpses with intact tissues and heads. Later, he gets to work, hacking and stitching together body parts from different corpses into one single form. All the while, Heinrich records his process. Victor feels he is on the brink of an extraordinary breakthrough. At last, the body is assembled and a storm is approaching. The perfect source of power. Victor prepares the machinery and the body for animation. He goes to find Heinrich, but notices that Heinrich looks pale and sickly. It is then that Heinrich confesses he is suffering from syphilis. He tells Victor that the favor he once mentioned is this: to put his brain into the assembled body. Victor refuses, saying they aren't at that stage yet. He then takes the lightning rod and places it at the top of the tower. When he returns, Heinrich pleads again, even offering Victor Elizabeth in exchange. Victor tells him that his body is now contaminated with disease, and it isn't possible. Enraged, Heinrich grabs the vital machinery and threatens to destroy it. A struggle breaks out, ending with Heinrich's death. Victor, shaken but determined, returns to his work. He adjusts the machinery and opens the rod at the top of the tower. Lightning surges through the rod and into the equipment. The heart in the body begins to beat rapidly, then stops. Silence follows. Victor feels defeated. He collapses on his bed and curses the dark angel, accusing it of lying to him. When he wakes, he sees the impossible. The creature is breathing. His experiment has worked. Victor approaches cautiously and opens the blinds. The creature recoils in fear, but Victor gently tells him that it is only sunlight, He says his name, and the creature repeats it back to him. Then Victor teaches the creature simple words and gestures. He chains the creature in the underground at night for safety, though the confinement clearly terrifies the creature. Victor doesn't know what to do next. For so long, his life has been consumed by the act of creation. And now that he has succeeded, the question of what comes after fills him with dread. Weeks pass, and Victor's patience wears thin. The only word the creature can say is his name. Victor. Victor grows weary of tending to the creature day and night. Victor notices the creature holding a sharp object. He commands him to let it go. The creature's hand begins to bleed. Then, scared, the creature reaches out and touches Victor's face with his bloodied hand. Victor recoils, shouting at him to never touch him again. But then he pauses. The creature's wound has already healed. Meanwhile, after weeks without a single letter from her uncle, Elizabeth and William set out from Vienna for Edinburgh. Back in the tower, Victor grows frustrated and shouts at the creature to say something other than his name. The creature cowers in fear. Just then, Victor hears the sound of a carriage outside. He rushes up and welcomes his brother and Elizabeth. He excitedly tells them that he has found the solution he's been seeking. Elizabeth, however, immediately asks where her uncle is. Victor hesitates before saying that Heinrich is away on business and will return in a few days. He invites them to see his experiment. As William follows him, Elizabeth stops when she hears someone softly calling Victor's name. She follows the voice to the basement and discovers the creature chained there. Curious, she approaches and gently touches him. The creature studies her hands with fascination. She notices he is bleeding and asks him, "Who hurt you?" Upstairs, William tells Victor that the college is ready to see him again, but Victor replies that he isn't ready yet. At that moment, Elizabeth storms in and confronts him about the creature being shackled and wounded. Victor insists that he gave the creature life and leads them both downstairs. He explains that every part of the body is functional. The healing, though erratic, is exceptional. Elizabeth points to the chains. Victor explains, "It is for my safety that it is restrained." The creature silently hands Elizabeth the gloves she had dropped earlier. William, astonished, asks, "Is it intelligent?" Later, William asks Victor if he knows which of the creature's body parts holds its soul. Victor admits he doesn't know. William tells Victor that he had noticed the creature behaved like a child, animated and innocent. Later that night, Elizabeth visits the creature again. He holds out a leaf to her. Elizabeth smiles and thanks him, speaking softly and kindly as she tells him her name. Then she leaves, not realizing that, moments later, the creature quietly says her name for the first time. Outside, Victor warns Elizabeth not to go near it again. Elizabeth, angry, asks, "It?" Victor nods, explaining that something is wrong with the creature since it only says his name. Elizabeth says, perhaps that word means everything to him now. She suggests that maybe the creature is reborn, and now his spirit is simpler, purer than that of ordinary men. Victor chuckles. Elizabeth tells him that she saw the creature's pain in his eyes and says, "Pain is the proof of intelligence." Victor asks, "What about my pain?" "And my heart? You denied me." Elizabeth laughs softly. "Of all human anatomy," she says, "that's the one organ you understand least." Then, coldly, she adds, "Only monsters play God, Baron." Victor descends into the underground, mocking the creature. "You are supposedly purer than a common man, and I am the villain," he says. His tone hardens. "Your heart is far from pure. It's dirty, because I know I am the one who put it there." He orders the creature to give him his leg. When the creature hesitates, Victor begins to beat him. The creature grabs the weapon and bends it, wailing Victor's name over and over. The next morning, Victor tells his brother that the creature is dangerous and responsible for Heinrich's death. He tells William to take Elizabeth to Vienna and keep her in the dark about everything. After they leave, William pours gasoline around the tower, preparing to set it on fire and end the creature's life once and for all. In the carriage, Elizabeth suddenly tells William that she has a terrible feeling. She believes Victor will kill the creature and orders the driver to turn around. Inside the tower, Victor faces the creature. He tells him that he will spare his life if he can say just one word other than his name. The creature hesitates, then says, "Victor," and then, "Elizabeth." Enraged, Victor strikes a match and throws it. The flames spread quickly, consuming the tower. The creature, terrified, shouts Victor's name again and again. Unable to bear it, Victor rushes into the fire to save him, but a powerful explosion rips through the tower, taking off his leg. Shortly after, William and Elizabeth arrive and watch as the tower collapses in flames. Back in the present, Anderson hears a noise and excuses himself to check. It's the creature. Victor pleads with him to let the captain go and take him instead. Anderson, however, tells the creature, "Go on, beast. Kill me. Confirm your maker's tale." The creature lowers his head. "Since my maker told his side of the story," he says, "I will tell mine." After the tower catches fire, the creature still hopes for his maker to save him. When he doesn't come, the creature breaks free from the shackles and throws himself down the chute into the icy water. After some time, he regains consciousness in a forest. He wanders through it, dazed. There, he encounters a deer. Fascinated, he watches the animal eat fruit and, imitating it, plucks some berries and offers them to the creature. Suddenly, gunshots echo through the trees. Hunters are shooting at the deer and then at him. The creature runs for his life. When he stops, he notices the wounds healing quickly. He hides in a barn attached to a nearby house, the same house that belongs to the hunters. Inside, he watches through the cracks in the wall. He sees an old man patting a little girl on the head and he mimics the gesture. Over the next few days, he studies them. He discovers that humans use words to express their feelings and emotions. He learns by listening to the old man teach his granddaughter. The creature longs to be part of their family. He gathers sticks for their fire, and the family believes it's the work of a forest spirit. In return, they leave him small pieces of bread. For a brief moment, he feels at peace with the world. One day, however, wolves attack the flock of sheep. The hunters rush out, shooting at them and driving them away. Watching them, the creature realizes that the hunter doesn't hate the wolf, nor does the wolf hate the sheep, yet violence is necessary between them. He thinks that such must be the function of life, that one will always be hunted for what they are. Before every winter, the family leaves for the town. But this time, the old man decides to stay behind, saying he wishes to remain and pray alone. When the family departs, the creature finally reveals himself. The old man, startled but calm, asks who he is. "I am a traveler," the creature replies. The old man offers him bread and brandy, adding that his eyesight is poor. When the creature reaches for the bottle, it slips and breaks. Frightened, he backs away, but the old man gently consoles him, telling him not to be afraid. The old man realizes the creature was the one who had been helping them. The being they had believed was a forest spirit. The old man asks him to stay, saying he could read books to him. The creature repeats the word read. The old man smiles and says they could also be friends. The creature echoes the word friend, then takes the old man's hand and places it gently on his head. The first book the creature reads to the old man is Adam and Eve, and many others follow. Winter arrives, and he watches the falling snow in wonder, amazed by its quiet beauty. One day, the creature tells the old man that he wants to know who he really is. The old man sighs deeply and says, "God took away your memory. Sometimes I wish I had the same gift. After I killed a good man long ago, I've been carrying the guilt ever since." The old man encourages the creature to remember. The creature tells him that he sees only fragmented memories, and the only word he can recall is Victor. He returns to the burnt tower and finds Victor's old notes. Reading them, he learns the terrible truth. He is nothing more than a body stitched together from dead men. Then he finds a letter with the name and address of his creator, Victor Frankenstein. When he returns to the house, he is horrified to see wolves attacking the old man. The creature fights them off, tearing them down one by one. In his dying breath, the old man whispers, "You came back." The creature tells him what he has learned, that he is not a man but a monster. But the old man tells him he is a good man and a good friend. The family returns, and when they see the creature beside the old man's body, they believe he killed him. The hunters fire at him, and the creature collapses, wounded. Meanwhile, Victor sees the dark angel again, but now its face is skeletal. His brother William enters and tells him to get ready. The wedding is about to begin. Then Victor visits Elizabeth to apologize for his past behavior and to give her his blessing to marry William. Victor visits Elizabeth to apologize for his past behavior and to give her his blessing to marry William. But Elizabeth refuses to listen. She tells him she doesn't want to hear more lies and asks him to leave. Then she pulls the leaf the creature gave her from the book where she'd tucked it away. That night, back in his chamber, Victor senses another presence. He calls out, asking the creature to show himself. Victor mockingly asks the creature if he has come to thank him for creating him. The creature tells him that he wants Victor to make him a companion, someone like him. Victor refuses, saying he won't create a whole race of monsters if they ever decide to procreate. The creature insists that he cannot die and cannot live alone. Victor grimly replies, "In you, I created something horrible." The creature answers, "Not something, someone." Victor still refuses, and the two begin to fight. The noise draws Elizabeth and William. Elizabeth rushes upstairs and freezes when she sees the creature alive. Victor grabs his gun and tells her to move, but she stands in front of the creature, taking the bullet. William bursts through the door, trying to pull her away, but the creature knocks him aside. In the creature's arms, Elizabeth whispers, asking him to take her with him. And he does. He carries her away to a cave. Meanwhile, Victor vows to William that he will save him. Weakly, William asks, "From what?" "You?" Then he confesses he has always feared Victor, his obsession, his madness. With his last breath, William tells him, "You are the real monster." In the cave, Elizabeth tells the creature that she never felt she belonged in this world, that she has always longed for something she couldn't name. She looks into his eyes and says, "But in you I found it." To be lost and found, that is the lifespan of love. Tears fill her eyes. "Its brevity is its tragedy," she whispers, "but it is better to die here, with your gaze upon me." By the time Victor arrives, following a trail of blood, Elizabeth is dead. The creature tells Victor that she is dead, and that he longs to join her but couldn't, because Victor made him this way. He declares that unless Victor kills him, from this day forward, he will be Victor's master. And so, Victor hunts the creature across continents, their pursuit finally ending in the Arctic. There, the creature drags Victor from his tent and finds an explosive hidden in his coat, then forces him to light it. And if it doesn't kill him, he will return to finish him. The explosion comes, but the creature survives and he feels reborn. In the present, Victor, frail and dying, reaches for the creature's hand and apologizes for everything he made him endure. The creature tells him to die peacefully, though he himself will never know such rest. Victor places his hand on the creature's head. "Forgive me, son," he whispers. He tells him to forgive himself and to live a life beyond the pain. Then he asks the creature to say his name, even though the name meant nothing to him since his father gave it to him. He still wants to hear him say it one last time, just like in the beginning, when it meant the world to him. The creature softly utters his name, and Victor dies. "Rest now, father," the creature murmurs. "At least now we both can be humans." The creature helps free the ship from the ice. Then he looks toward the horizon, endless, cold, and full of possibilities.